Right, before I start today, let me just pop in the office and fire off a general knowledge question to the office staff. Just see if they know. Marie?
Hello.
Marie,
What?
what is the one thing you should say at the end of a YouTube video?
Goodbye?
No, that is not the correct answer. Do you know?
I've got a bloody idea.
Okay. Mrs. M?
No.
What is the one fundamental thing you have to say at the end of a YouTube video?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, like, comment and subscribe, obviously.
Holy shit! Did you hear that? Did you hear that? He's bloody Scottish and he knows.
He's a cunt, anyway.
You hear that? The flipping Irishman knows.
Irish.
Anyway.
That's nasty, Al.
Anyway, let's get back onto this job. We've got a job to do today. Right then, today we're going to change a thermostat housing on a Mark 5 Mondeo 2 litre diesel. I guess it was inevitable I was going to do it sooner or later. I'm surprised no one else has done it. It would have saved me the bloody bother. Anyway, let's get down to it. First up, you're going to need a new thermostat housing. They call it a Connect water. Right, okay. Secondly, there are two O-rings which I'll come to later. That's the part number. I advise you to change these O-rings. And lastly, there is a plastic pipe. It goes from the thermostat housing round to your coolant expansion bottle. You're probably best changing this because the connectors on the end are probably going to break when you take it out of the thermostat housing. We'll see what happens anyway. You know, if you wanted to be lazy, you could disconnect the water hose from your thermostat housing and let the water pour all over your under tray. But there again, it'll get soaked and bogged with water. So I'm being good today and taking it off. You know, I have to keep removing this air cleaner nearly every job I do. Flipping heck. Anyway, you've got your wire on your airflow meter, which you need to disconnect. Two 7mm screws and a 7mm Jubilee clip. Pull the hose off, then you can literally pull the whole air cleaner out. It's all on poppers, so it comes out quite easily. 8mm bolt for your battery clamp. There's some plastic clips you have to pop out with your trim tool on these wiring looms. You need to get them all out of the way so we can pull our battery forward. Right, you can literally pull that forward now and we'll disconnect our two battery terminals which are 10mm. Right, we'll take this lump out of the way then. There's a few wires clipped onto the side of this battery tray. Just need to unclip them with a trim tool. And then there's four 8mm screws holding this battery tray in place. If you undo all of them, then this whole tray will just literally lift out. You don't have to take the battery and battery tray out to do this job. The only reason I'm taking it out is because it's going to give me better access so I can show it better what I've got to take off. I do suggest all these battery wires, because they're just going to be hanging around, is just to get a cable tie and tie them out of the way so they're not getting in your way and getting on your nerves. There. The fuel pipes that run in the front of the engine, they're clipped on here. If you disconnect the clip in a couple of places along this line, then what you can do, you can get like your workshop, well, your car's handbook, and you can use that to prop the pipes up out of the way. The clutch hose that goes round to your sleigh cylinder is in a little bracket here. If you pull it out of its bracket, there's two 10mm bolts that you need to take out. Now remove this bracket because it does get in the way. The turbo pipe that runs on top of your gearbox, there's a hose goes onto it with a 7mm nut on the Jubilee clip. If you undo that nut, well, that Jubilee clip, and then pull that hose right off and tuck it out of the way somewhere. And actually, while I'm here, you can see where this thermostat housing's been leaking on top of the gearbox. It's made a little puddle in the end of the gearbox. Woohoo! There's another 10mm bolt holding this plastic turbo pipe on to the gearbox casing, which needs to come out. You can, if you wanted to, you can just pull this pipe to one side a little bit and you've got enough room to get in there. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift the heater hoses up behind at the back of this pipe so I can pull this pipe out. And I'm actually going to lift this pipe right up out of the way. So as I said, if you use one hand to lift the heater hoses up, you can actually pull this pipe and put it right up by the bulkhead. It just gets it right out of the way so you've got proper access to get to this thermostat housing. There's a metal bracket over here. Now there's about, I'm sure there's about 4 little like clips that are holding this wiring loom in place. But you need to get, we want to remove this bracket, so you need to get all these wiring trim clips unclipped. And then there's 2 plug connectors going onto this thermostat housing. You pop that orange piece up, then you can unclip that one, and this one just little tab pushes in and you can pull the connector off. Then take this loom and tuck it out of the way. There's 3 little 8mm bolts holding this bracket onto your brake vacuum pump. And we can lift this bracket right out of the way. Woo! So flipping it, the heater's on in here and it's getting freaking warm. It's well toasty in here now. Yeah! 2 hoses that go onto this thermostat housing. If you notice, I've put a funnel just below these hoses with a hose on it which goes down into a bucket so I can catch all the antifreezing water that leaks out of these. But if you've got the right tool for these clips, then obviously you can use it. I'm going to just use a pair of mole grips to loosen the clip and I can pull the hose off and try and catch the water. There. And I'll loosen the clip on this one with my mole grips and I'll pull this hose off, and you see all that water's going to go into that funnel and into a bowl I've got underneath the car, because there's a hose attached to this funnel. Now this heater pipe here, this is going to be a tricky one because you've got to pull these clips out like that and hold them out as you pull the pipe off. But if you bend them too much, they'll break. This clip will break. Then you've got to buy a complete new hose. Plus the hose isn't exactly easy to get off. So what I normally do, I spray a little bit of like freon oil just through there so I can try and loosen the pipe on it, and with one hand try and undo both them clips, pull them apart, and then you can wriggle this pipe until it comes off. But you've got to be very, very careful with that clip because it will break if you're not careful. Down the rear of this housing, there's a pipe goes into the back of the housing and it's held on with a 10mm bolt and a clamp. It's really tricky to see, but what I'll do is I'll get it out and show you the clamp. You see you've got that little bolt and that clamp holding the pipe to the back of the housing. But I will say, once you've cracked this bolt loose, they come out finger tight, so they're quite easy to remove. And this is the plastic pipe I recommend you get a brand new one, because they're very, very brittle when they break. You're supposed to push them tabs in and like twist it and pull it out. Whether it will come out in one piece, we'll see. They normally break on me. It's coming, but it's tight. See? You see? It's broke. It's bloody broke. Because I'm changing the thermostat housing, I don't have to pull this bit out, but I'm going to anyway. But you can get a pick in there if you were just changing the pipe. And you can, I've dropped it, but yeah, I've just pulled the bit out at the end. So, wasteless, pointless exercise that was. And that pipe from the thermostat, I go round to this pipe here, or this part on the bottle, and I'm going to see if it's going to break on the bottle as well. It probably will. Yep, that's bust. So now I'll just get my pick and pull the bits out. There we go. There's one little bit. And there's the other bit. It's gone. We're getting there. There's 4 8mm bolts left, which I've undone them all. So you can take all them out. Now it'll probably be stuck to the cylinder head, but if you just pull it a bit, it'll break free. What I suggest, I'll show you when I get it off, but it's to try and twist it as you pull it, because it's going to be stuck on the O-rings on the pipe at the back. So I'm going to give that a bit of a twist as I pull it at the same time. And we're off. Yuck. There you go. One thermostat. Ready for the dustbin. We'll be coming back to you later. And obviously where the new thermostat housing, the gasket's going to sit, make sure it's all nice and clean and there's no bits of gasket still stuck there. There. The pipe that goes into the rear of the housing, which is here, I do suggest replacing these 2 little O-rings because they can get ballooned and deteriorated. If you get a little pick, you can hook them off like that. There. The rubber does deteriorate, so it's worth changing. And I'll just give the pipe a little bit of a wipe and a clean up before I fit the new O-rings on. Okay, I'll pop these new O-rings on, like so. That's 1, and that's 2. Bingo. Righty-ho, let's pop this out. That's it, you fucker. Your fate is sealed. Just a few things to note here. The new thermostat housing, it does come with a new rubber gasket. And also, the pipe at the back of the engine will slide in here with the O-rings on it. And this little hole is where your 10mm bolt and bracket will go to hold the pipe on. Right, that's about it. Let's bang this back on the engine. If you have fitted new seals on that pipe, you'll find that the new housing will literally slide onto them like a glove. But what you can do is, you line that up with a pipe at the back, and then you can twist it on, but it sometimes helps to get one hand at the back of the pipe, hold the pipe from it being pushed that way. You can hold the pipe and twist the housing on. So I'll just have to get my arm in there and give it a little twist. And that's it, we're on. Now you can take the 4 8mm bolts, stick them all in, and start winding the threads in, but don't tighten any of them down until they're all properly on the threads. However tight you do them is up to you. I just do it by feel, through experience. That's it. And then you can pop your clamp and your 10mm bolt back in and secure that pipe to the back of the housing. You see all that strobing in the video? It's annoying me, but I can't do nothing about it. It's coming from this light. This is my new torch. It's a Nebo Big Larry Pro. I don't know why, they should have called it a Little Larry Pro because it's quite small. It's 500 lumens. It's quite bright. They reckon it lasts for like 9 hours like this, but I don't believe that for a minute. I used it the other day and after about 2 hours it was still on, but it went dim. Unfortunately, no matter what settings I put on my camera, this makes my videos strobe. Anyway, let's get on. Okay then, the heater hose we can just pop back on. It only goes on in one position. There's a little cutout that it pops into this here. We can take the lower hose, put our clip back on, pop that on. You'll notice on these hoses there's a white line. It lines up with like a ridge on the housing. So you know exactly where to put them. There. Right, we'll get our top hose back on. notice the white line where it lines up with the ridge on the housing. You can lower the plastic turbo pipe back on top of the gearbox now and position your clutch hose bracket back into position. It slots underneath the turbo hose, and you can put your two 10mm bolts back in and refit the last 10mm bolt at the front of this pipe. It just bolts straight through a bracket on the pipe onto the top of the gearbox, and then whack that down. Or well, tighten all three 10mm up now. Refit your turbo hose onto that plastic pipe. Make sure it's located in the bracket in the front of the gearbox, and then whack your Jubilee clip back up. Don't forget not to tighten it, because if you forget, it'll blow off when you're driving it. Then pop your clutch hose back into the bracket, nice and secure. Refit this bracket back onto the brake vacuum unit bolts. There, you'll tighten them 8mm up. Your wiring loom is straightforward. Just plugs in. And then fix all your poppers back into their securing holes so the wires don't flap around. That's it. This would probably be a good time to fit our new bleed pipe back onto our thermostat housing. The nice thing about new pipes, they generally go on quite well, and that pops in there until the clips are secure. Done. You see there's a little O-ring at the end of these pipes, and it just makes a seal. So we'll pop that in there. Bingo. There's two poppers just behind the actual bonnet slam panel where this pipe clips into. Don't forget that. It needs to be nice and secure, otherwise it could chafe out somewhere and then cause a leak. I'm just going to use my brake bleeder to get rid of all the water that's down in the top of that gearbox. Okay, I'll remove these hooks, lower our fuel pipes back into position and clip them back down. So I'll just remove our zip strap so our wires are free. And now we can refit our battery tray. We should slide into there, put them wires just above it, and that will slot into position. And then just bolt down your battery tray, all four of the 8mm screws. Reconnect all the wiring onto the side of the battery tray, then shove the old battery back on, and then you can reconnect your terminals and bolt them up. 10mm nuts. You'll probably notice that the moment you put the battery terminals back on, you'll hear the thermostat, the ratchet in the thermostat going as it's centralising itself. So it's like the ECU recognises, even with the ignition switched off, the ECU recognises the thermostat's not in the correct position, and it centralises it straight from new. So yeah, there's a lot goes on with these ECUs. Slide that back as far as it will go and stick our 8mm bolt and clamp back into place. Then your wiring loom that runs across this battery tray. If you haven't broken the little poppers, you can stick them back in. There's 3 of them in total. And that one goes onto the side of the battery tray. Now we can lower the airbox back into position. It fits into like little lugs at the bottom, into little rubber lugs. That hose will pop on and that'll all push down. 2 7mm headed bolts at the front of the air cleaner box. So we'll tighten them up and re-tighten your Jubilee clip on your air intake pipe. Reconnect your airflow meter wiring plug and clip any wiring back into position. Okay, let's stick the old antifreeze in. It's like a 50% antifreeze, 50% water. You don't have to worry about bleeding these cooling systems. Just pour the water in the expansion bottle until it's a little bit above the level. Run the engine for like 20 minutes. It will self-bleed, no problem at all. So anyway, little thermostat housing. Cheerio! I'll just point out here Normally you can see the antifreeze sitting in this little pocket here, and it'll overflow and run down the top of the gearbox. But on several occasions now, the whole end casing of this housing has literally broke off. The glue has come undone. This whole piece has come completely off with the hose, and you lose your entire cooling system in a space of like 10 seconds. So yeah, it's a bit dodgy to say the least. Okay, before I do one, don't forget to refit your under tray if you did take it off. In actual fact, let me show you what will happen if you don't put it back on. When you get driving to 50-60 miles an hour, the wind will catch underneath these panels and it will pull them down. The wind force will literally pull them down, and these will start scraping on the road, and you'll wonder what the hell's going on. So either put screws back in here and secure these, or put your under tray back on properly. Right then, don't worry, I'm not going to put you in the trash can.
Holy fuck.
Oh my God. Oh, look at that. Yep, I think that's well and truly twatted. Oh well, bye-bye. Feck yeah. That's it, that's a job well done. Right, I'm out of here, so till the next time. See ya!